What's quack-a-lacking, guys? I'm a Duck Quack here, and welcome back to another investment-based video. So, marquee matchups have just released today, and every investor, everybody does guides on them, and everybody who's got any kind of presence, myself included to some degree, get a load of messages from people asking, when should we sell these players? When's the best time to get the most profit? When should we sell? When should we sell? And it's a very hard question to give definitive answers for because there's so many variables that cover it. So what I thought I'd do is a video based on these 4 games here. And instead of looking at the investment side of it and everything, we'll be looking at why we should have sold, when we should have sold, or if we should be holding, and how the market should react to them, and then compare it to potentially one or two of last week's ones. So we've got the Marseille against PSG one. We've got Ipswich, Norwich, Timbers, Whitecaps, and Feyenoord against Ajax. So we're going to jump straight into it, and we're going to start with the PSG against Marseille one. So the PSG game, the Ligue 1 game, should I say, the requirements are 3 players from these 2 teams, okay? So that straight away is higher than, obviously, 1 player from both teams or 1 player from each team. So you need 3 players total. The reason that these prices aren't massively inflated or haven't really risen very much is simply because of how many of them are available on the market. No, we're never going to win that. Both teams are huge teams in Ligue 1, and their whole squads are basically made up from gold players alone. As you can see, they're almost back down to discard value. They're not far off discard value, maybe roughly about double at the moment. The reason that these dropped so quickly is, like I mentioned, it's just the supply on the market is endless. Packs are constantly being opened. All the rewards are putting more players onto the market. And it's just not specific enough, if you like, to be needing loads of these players. If it was something like Real Madrid against Barcelona, the rarity of those players are much higher than the Marseille ones and the PSG ones, which makes them rise a little bit more. If it was 4 players, then these prices would have risen a little bit more. If it was 2 players from PSG and 2 players from Marseille, we would have seen the PSG players rise even more again. It's all how the requirements for the players needed break down. If you were to have sold these investments straight away in the hype when the marquee matchup was released, that is most likely when you would have got the most amount of coins, because there's only a set amount on the market at that point. Everybody floods to the market to try and buy them for investments or to try and buy them to complete the marquee matchup. The supply there quickly gets taken down, and it gets taken down at a rate almost faster than people can list them up. So that's when the prices go up very briefly, and you could have made the most amount of coins on this marquee matchup. Now, again, don't panic sell, don't rush into things. Take your time just to make sure you're doing the right thing. But that's how that one marquee matchup, and a lot of the bigger teams with the requirements of, say, 2 or 3 players of any kind of combination normally work out. We're going to jump into the Eredivisie next. Wait, is Feyenoord, is it an Eredivisie game? It is, isn't it? Ajax. They are, yeah. If we set this one onto gold as well and put on about 1,200, we're going to see the exact same thing, if not cheaper than before. And the reason for this, again, is simple. You only need 1 player from each team. That's a total of 2 players. And so many of them are non-rare golds that, look how many there are. There's just tons and tons and tons of them. Now, if this was the same marquee matchup, but you needed 2 players from each team, we would have seen a much bigger price jump because everyone completing the marquee matchup would have had to have done what they did twice. So the cards would have had more value. Based on that, again, the best time to sell these cards was as quick as possible because the prices could only come down. And we see that from the sheer volume of cards available on the market at the moment. The next game we're going to jump into is going to be the Ipswich against Norwich game. Now, again, it's very similar. This could have been a huge money-making game. But the problem with it was there are just so many bronze and silver players, well, mainly bronze players if you just look at it, from these teams. And the fact that you only need 1 from each, again, is the huge hindrance here. Wait, is it 1 from each or is it 1 from... I think it actually might be 1 from Ipswich and Norwich combined. Why did I just go backwards like that? What's wrong with me? I think it might actually just be 1 from them combined that you need. Let's just double check that. Ipswich, Norwich. Yeah, 1 combined. So because of the requirements, if it was 1 from each, we'd have seen a much bigger rise. If it was 2 players max, we still would have seen a bigger rise. But that requirement just killed off the marquee matchup. And again, that's why the price of it has absolutely plummeted to probably about 800 odd coins, as you can see there. Once again, because of that requirement, and only because of that requirement, the best time to sell was straight away. The final game we're going to look at is the MLS game. And you see people like myself and big investors, and you usually see what we do right and the perfect choices we make, because we're making content for you guys to enjoy and learn from. So when we make a big mistake, it's not something we want to show off. Although in a lot of my videos, I do show you guys the big mistakes I made. I'm completely honest with them. A lot of people don't. And I think that's somewhere where viewers can learn a lot more about investing, is realizing that the best way that these big investors get even better is from making a mistake and learning from it. So the Whitecaps Timbers game was a game that I predicted massively and said, there's been no MLS. MLS has come into an end. Invest, guys. And so many of you did. And you made absolutely thousands of coins. Now, this is where it gets a little bit difficult. If we have a look on the market for 1,500 coins, we have a lot of players. That would have been a great snipe, but there's no way he's still there. There's loads of players, absolutely tons of players. This seems to be an expired filter that we're looking at there, so let's just update that a little bit. There we go. So there's one player. So about 1,500 coins is roughly what they're going for at the moment. 1,600 coins, maybe 1,700 coins? Okay, yeah, about 1,700 coins. So 1,600 coins they sell instantly for. Now, this is a weird one, because you do need one player from each club, which is absolutely massive. But if we just have a look on the market at how many players there are, we're going through 3 pages before we even hit the 30-second mark. There are tons of these players, and they are just not going to run out. So the best time to sell them by an absolute mile was, once again, as soon as the marquee matchup was released. Now, I, like a load of other people that I speak to, especially on my Discord as well, we all agreed that the best time to sell these guys would be after all the panic sellers, after everybody had stopped going mad about them. But we were completely wrong. One thing that we didn't take into account are these guys, the gold players. So I think the Whitecaps has 1 gold player and the Timbers has 2 gold players. And it's crazy how much this can affect the market. Everybody opens gold packs, and so many people just store these players straight into their club. Now, if, say, even 10%, 5%, 1% of the player base has one of these guys in their club, that's huge. That will destroy the market for investments. On top of that, there are just so many bronze players across both clubs, so many players in the whole team. That's why they've fallen so quickly. But I truly believe that the key reason that these investments haven't worked out as I myself had planned is because of these gold players just completely destroying it. Now, do I expect it to bounce back a little bit? I honestly don't know, if I'm honest with you. I would have assumed that they would have found a price of about 3,000-4,000 coins after all the panic had settled, but the volume of cards on the market at the moment and the way they keep decreasing hours after the event was released, I'm not sure where they're going to settle. I'd assume somewhere between about 1,500 to 2,500 coins, but I could be wrong again with that. Which, the best time to sell was straight away once again, because they were going for a fortune, but we overlooked so many factors. The key requirement you want to be looking at when you're selling these cards is how many players do I need from this whole match, from each team, etc., etc. So I've invested massively into marquee matchups, and we're just going to come into my trade pile, and we're going to scrutinize everything that I've done. So firstly, I picked up a load of the Rapid Vienna against Austria Vienna players. I sold them all on hype beforehand. Now, a good question here is, what makes you sell them on hype opposed to keeping them and then seeing a 10,000 coin player like we did with the Melbourne players last week? And it's down to just one simple thing. How much would I be making? How much am I risking? So every one of these players I bought for 150 coins on a bid. The fact that I could get 2,000 coins for each one of them is, just call it a 2,000 coin profit per player with about 30 players that I've got here, okay? So that's 60,000 coins. Was I willing to gamble? Oh, sorry, even more, about 70,000 coins maybe. Was I willing to gamble 70,000 coins in a hope that they would be included, the requirements would be enough to push the player prices up massively, that blocks wouldn't be included, meaning that you didn't need players from these teams? So if all of that went my way and they sold for 5,000 coins apiece, then I'd be making an extra 150% on these. So instead of making, say, 60,000, I'd be making 150,000, which is great. But if I had a coin in front of me and someone said to you, you can flip the coin. If it's heads, you get 150,000. If it's tails, you get nothing. Or you can take 60,000. You're going to take 60,000 coins every time. It's a no-brainer. You're guaranteed 60,000 coins, or you gamble everything. These are the little things that make a key difference with the investments that people make. Now, we go into the Whitecaps players here that we just mentioned before. Why didn't I sell these guys on hype? Well, these guys on hype went up to about 800 coins. So say that I had another 30 of those, and I was given the same option. Here's a coin, flip it. If you win, you get 150,000 coins. If you lose, you get nothing, but you can just take 24,000 coins right now. In order to gain 150,000 coins, I'd be gambling 24,000 coins. Those are odds that I'm happy to take. When it gets up to 60,000 coins, though, I'm not going to risk that much coins. You've got to weigh up your investments to see if it's worth it. Now, well, on these players here, you could see what they were selling for in the hype. And I stupidly thought, no, the market's going to dry up with supply. These players could even go higher than this. And I held on to most of them, which was just the wrong decision. Ipswich players, I somehow managed to get rid of all of those in the hype because I knew that they would not benefit. I somehow managed to sell a Whitecaps player for 9,000 right at the peak. And then you can see here. So this is something I've just done. I have just got rid of, not all of them, but I've offset a certain amount of the remaining MLS players I had for 1,600 coins because I'm fine with that. Because I'm absolutely fine to sell them for 1,600 coins and keep these other ones that I've got here and all the ones in my club as a backup. So all those ones that are sitting in my club, all those ones on the transfer list, if the prices do rise, I'm still covered. But I've offloaded some of those cards to make sure that I'm not going to be completely burnt out and I'm not going to completely miss investments. And Brozovic is just sold for 40,000 coins. Wow. I kind of just keep listing these guys up because I didn't expect them to sell. I'm actually a little bit annoyed he did sell. Oh, well, let's just relist them again. Why not? So, yeah, that's just a small video summing up the logic and how investing goes and when you should sell on hype and how you should treat the requirements in order to wait how long you should sell. If we look at the Melbourne players from last week, there aren't a full massive squad of both players. There's only bronze and silver ones available, and you needed 2 of them. The supply was always going to dry up eventually. Most people don't have those players in their club unless they use bronze pack method or something crazy like that. That explains the 10k rise in price. Just keep all of these little factors in mind when you're investing. Make sure you pick them up for discard, obviously, but that's the investment side. But when it comes to selling, factor in all of these things and then make your own detailed and an opinion that you're happy with before you sell. Anyway, guys, going to wrap it up there. I didn't want to go on for too long, but I think it's like a 12-minute video or something crazy like that already. So if you did enjoy it and you are enjoying all the content, you're finding it useful, if you could drop a like, that would be incredible. If you're new to the channel, subscription would be amazing from you guys. The Twitter link is down in the description, so if you're not following us there, make sure you do, because we're always tweeting out investment advice and everything, and we've got a trading Discord up and running as well. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.